All right, we're nearing the end of the college football season, so you already know the deal. We're going to take a look at this past week of college football and see what draft prospects helped their stock and hurt their stock. Welcome to the Stock Report and what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below where we have that nice, beautiful, intimate football discourse. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker with JJ McCarthy. This was the watch-along game. We watched Ohio State versus Michigan, and I have McCarthy on here as a, not necessarily a downer, but we still don't know what's the deal with him. And I say that as in he made a couple of, there were a couple of dimes in this ball game against Ohio State. But overall, he didn't really have to do a whole lot. He didn't. The touchdown pass to Roman Wilson, there we go. Absolute dot between two defenders. Beautiful pass. We know this guy's got the arm strength. But I feel that we still don't have... I feel like I'm still looking at him like, he probably needs to sit a year. There's still a lot that I feel like he's not grasping, like talent, tools. Those aren't the issues. We know he has those, and he has those in spades. In terms of how he conducts himself pre-snap, how he goes through his progressions and such, like in a game like this, I repeat, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot. So now we're going to be looking on to, because I assume, okay, let's give Iowa their flowers. That's a really good defense he's going to have to go against. And we'll see how he does. Because you go back and you look at JJ McCarthy's film, right? And his worst games was this previous week against Maryland. So the week before wasn't a great game for him. Matter of fact, it was a really bad game for him. Then you look at Bowling Green, and I was like, man, that had so many ups, so many downs. So I guess his Iowa game can serve as a good indicator, but he isn't a guy that just has to take over a game, has to put the team on his back, has to step up and make big plays. Can, but I don't know, is that something worth taking in the first round this year? Is he someone that might need another year of seasoning? Or we slap the top 10 label on him? I don't know, man. I don't know. McCarthy is a very interesting prospect, and I just feel like we haven't seen everything we would want to really roll the dice on him as a first rounder as of yet. But that's only my take. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's keep this sucker rolling with Michael Penix Jr., who has had a topsy-turvy game. I mean, it was better than the Oregon State game, but I mean, I'll kind of talk about both those games in a little bit of length. But he, in this Washington game, went 18 of 33, threw for over 200 yards, had 2 touchdowns, did have the interception, and I felt like we saw the ups, we saw the downs, we saw in this game, you didn't have the bad weather like you did against Oregon State. So there weren't many drops. I think there was 3 or 4 drops in that Oregon State game, which kind of led to his completion rate being kind of low. But this one, it's just kind of off target here and there. He is someone who, okay, the accuracy sometimes under pressure does slip a little bit, or even on some of those short to intermediate throws, it's not always the most ideal ball placement. And I feel like the second half of the season has really encompassed, if you're going to take the injuries out of it, why maybe might be more hesitant to take Penix in the first round. Again, let's just go over the last 3 games. Adjusted completion percentage, if you're unfamiliar with that, it basically takes out drops. It takes out spikes. It takes out throwaways. So it's the closest you're going to get to a true completion percentage. Just how accurate, how often is he putting the ball within the reach of the receiver? Against Utah, 64.1%. Against Oregon State, granted, a lot of rain in this game, not ideal conditions, 57.1%. And by far, probably his worst completion rate of the year. This past week, 61.3%. So I get it. The dude started off the year exceptionally hot, and it's really been maybe this last little stretch where it's like, okay, let's see how he does against Oregon, which I would argue was his best game of the season, where he had to go blow for blow with a high-powered offense, another high-caliber quarterback. Let's see how he fares in this rematch against Bo Nix and the Ducks. But for me, Michael Penix is in this like 25 to 35 range on my big board right now, and I'm willing to say he's quarterback 5 for me. And that's not a bad spot to be in, but I look at like a Bo Nix. I look at like even a Jaden Daniels, who's done so much. Like Jaden Daniels is a cat that has progressively got better each and every year, and then this year has been the huge jump. So I look at those guys and I'm like, yeah, those are also guys that will be a bit older prospects. Like, okay, Bo Nix, I think is maybe a couple of months older than Michael Penix. And it's kind of the same case for Jaden Daniels, though Jaden Daniels is like full 8 months younger than these guys. But again, you're looking at these guys that are going to be their rookie season in the NFL, 23/24. So older prospects. You're looking at them like, okay, I think probably the better gets are with like Bo Nix. I feel like the safest about. Jaden Daniels, I feel like just has a bit more of that the ability to improvise compared to Michael Penix, and that's kind of why he edges out Penix. But I talk about Daniels as also a guy that on short to intermediate, sometimes that accuracy kind of slips. But Penix, I just kind of want to mention here because he's going to be a dude in this like quarterback 3 discussion, and he's probably the one I'm the most down on, but I'm still like kind of a huge fan, Michael Penix. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about it with the up and down game against Washington State. Granted, it is a rivalry game, but let's get this train back on the tracks. Let's talk about Payton Wilson out of NC State. Phenomenal game. This dude has had a phenomenal career at North Carolina State, and coming off a huge game here against North Carolina where he had 12 tackles. He had 7 defensive stops, basically plays that result in negative to no gains. 3 pressures. He had a sack. He had 2 forced fumbles. He had an interception. He did it all in this game. He is someone who you're not going to find a more physical tackler, and he does it with a very good, very, very good missed tackle rate. This season, 4.6% missed tackle rate. You look at last season, 8.3 missed tackle rate. So a guy who's not only a violent tackler, but someone who, if he puts his hands on you, you're probably going down. Not a cat that gets a ton of splash plays and coverage, but he does enough. Like for all intents and purposes, like he's probably going to be a guy that's more of a minimal gain type of coverage player, but someone who you're hardly ever going to find out of space. Really, the big down with Payton Wilson is the injury red flags, and despite that, I find myself moving him more and more up my board. So let's take a look at the injury red flags, since those are going to be the big things. So like he tore his right ACL his senior year of high school. Then in 2018, first year at NC State, he tore his right ACL once again, forcing him to redshirt his freshman season. He did that during the summer. So comes into like 2021, right after that 2020 season was phenomenal for him, played in every game, was a first team all ACC. And then he suffers a season-ending shoulder injury in week 2 against Mississippi State. And then, that was in 2021. And then in 2022, he missed spring practices after undergoing surgeries on both shoulders. He injured his left shoulder in the opener, missed a few games, and then he would miss the Louisville game with an undisclosed injury. A guy that his career is just layered with all these injuries. In particular, the right ACL twice, and his shoulders. It's going to be scary. It's going to be jarring. But in this linebacker class, honestly, there's not many guys I'd rather take in front of Payton Wilson. So that might elevate him to like a 3rd round status. I think right now I have him as an early day 3 projection, but when I kind of start messing around with my big board once again after the bowl season, he might end up as a guy that just I have to put up further on my board just because there's not many players I would consider better for him and more pro ready. But gotta give a shout out to him. He's been having a banger year. Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're gonna want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet. So send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals. And guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. And then I have Zach Frasier out of West Virginia. A lot of people love this cat at center. Coming in at 6'3", 310. And admittedly, I've been a slow burn with Frasier because I'm a sucker for athleticism, right? At all levels. And not to say he's a bad athlete, because he's not. He certainly isn't a bad athlete. He might be even a bit high end for the position. But even with these guys that are like really good movers, you kind of want to see that power element to their game. And I don't exactly see that consistently from Frasier. Like, I just think he lacks that ideal power for the interior, or at least to play consistently. And I'm not saying we're getting like an Aaron Brewer here, but in terms of like pole vaulting him into like a lot of people had this cat as like round 2, round 3, and honestly, up until the last couple of weeks, I've just been like, I just don't feel it with him. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. And now, like, looking at the rest of the class, especially the guys that play center, because we're looking at what, like Jackson Powers Johnson, Cedric Van Pran, and that's probably your center class. That next guy for me most definitely is Frasier. But are you willing to take that in the 3rd? And I might be more willing to take that as a 4th rounder. You know, if it's not there, it's not there. I'm not going to force it. I mean, a lot of other guys that could maybe play center. Like, we got a small class. Like, I feel like Christian Haynes could probably play center no problem and be okay with it. I feel like maybe I don't like Bo Limmer at center. Like, he's just too tall. Like, yeah, I think the only guy I would have there is probably Christian Haynes. So, I don't know. He kind of gets pole vaulted to like center 3 for me in this class. Because Haynes, he's played right guard his whole career. You know, you don't want to force him to play center. I'm sure we're going to see him play center in the Senior Bowl. They're going to work out a variety of different guys at different positions. But, I mean, there is a lot to love. Like, with Frasier, I don't want you coming away thinking, okay, this dude's weak. A guy that can't really, he struggles to, like, maintain and establish leverage. Like, because that's not really the case, man. These are, like, instances that I just noticed. Like his whole body of work, he's been exceptionally solid his whole career. If you look at his whole career there at West Virginia. He's been a starter since day one. And I mean, to be fair, the dude does have guard versatility. He was a left guard his freshman season. But he has put out 3 years of exceptionally good play for the Mountaineers. And he is a guy that has, I think, high-end movement skills. He is a cat that uses his hands exceptionally well, man. Former wrestler back in high school. He is someone who, if he gets out in space, better believe it, man, he's going to lay out that guy at the second level. Like, I think he's also a very patient in pass protection. You won't find him playing over his toes, caught reaching, you know? So it's like, there's a lot to love about him. I'm just kind of like, I'm not entirely sold on the power element of his game. But I wanted to mention him here. He had a really good game against Baylor this past week where he allowed no pressures and no sacks. Hasn't allowed a sack on the whole season. He's been playing great. He's going to be like once again, a first team all Big 12. He was last year. He is going to be once again, this year. All right, next on the list, I got DJ James, corner out of Auburn, coming in at 6'1", 164, and there is my gripe with him right off the bat. There is my gripe. Not a great game this weekend, by the way, against Bama. He allowed 3 receptions on 5 targets, so had 2 pass breakups there, really nice, but he allowed 110 yards receiving on those 3 receptions. One was like a 60-yard bomb. I think that was the Jermaine Burton touchdown. And then he allowed the 4th and goal from the 31. This was a 31-yard pass completion, game winner on 4th and goal. They needed to have it. And to be fair, it was a well-placed ball there in the corner of the end zone. But DJ James, man, I felt like he got bodied a little bit. There are a lot of those concerns. I know if there's Commanders fans watching, you're gonna have Emmanuel Forbes just oh no on the mind. You're gonna just be thinking of him getting bodied in coverage, and that's kind of my fear with DJ James. Because listen, there's a lot to really like about DJ James, man. This cat has 2 interceptions, 10 pass breakups on the season. He actually has pretty solid length, very good athlete. It's just, you look at him and he's probably going to be someone who has to play zone. I don't know if he can play man-to-man and ride the hip pocket of NFL receivers. Listen, DJ James, he's going to be 23 entering his rookie season, which that's not old by any means, but you look at his frame and it's like, can he really add more mass to it? Can he add more bulk? Because I'm sorry, corners just don't, or at least haven't worked out in the NFL sub 170. And that has been apparent with Emmanuel Forbes. Not saying, Forbes, it's not going to work out for him, because he definitely has the skills to. But we've seen the struggle. I mean, he eventually got benched. He's just struggling to adjust to the physicality of the NFL receivers. And I'd rather take shots on guys like that early day 3, which is kind of where I have James, rather than on day 2, where I think a lot of people have him this 3rd round area. Let alone, I'd rather not take that shot in the 1st round either. But man, there's a lot to like about him, man. The guy's a competitor, the guy's a baller, but you got to be real about the limitations when it comes to James. Next here, I got Kendrell Milton, running back out of Georgia. I'm actually going to rattle off quite a few running backs here, but Milton, really good game. 18 carries for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big part of why Georgia was able to just milk that clock and not allow Georgia Tech to completely get back into that game. But Milton's like coming in with good size, 6'1", 220 pounds. Really good running back size. You like that? You love to see it. But man, I get Zamir White vibes, and like I think Zamir White may have been a better straight line athlete than Milton, but I get those vibes. I don't think he's that dynamic as a, I don't think he's that dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's very much a cut and go. Cut and go. That is him. That is who he is. And that's fine for a committee back. That's fine for a committee back to me. But to be fair, 25 forced missed tackles this season on only 99 carries, that's not half bad. That's not half bad. The guy can eat contact and keep rolling, but just don't expect him to be throwing out some moves to actually make guys miss. That's just not a part of his game. Not much of a pass catcher, so he's very much in the mold of an early down committee back. But he had a good game. He's going to be in the mix, I think, in the 5th, 6th, 7th round area. That's kind of where I have him, but I kind of wanted to give him a shout out because I just haven't talked about him much this season, coming off a really good game. And also, he had a really good game against Ole Miss as well. I don't think I talked about him that week. Next run back I'm talking about is my boy, Trey Benson. He had 3 tutties. He had one nice 30-some yard run for a touchdown where he just got the edge or got the corner, got to the sideline, turned on the burners, and you just love that speed. You saw some good contact balance from him in this game. And golly, man, I really feel like he's gonna still end up my running back RB1 in this class. It's just this running back class it's kind of mid. I guess that's best term to use for it. But I think Trey Benson is someone that, man, I wish Florida State would give him more carries. This time they did in this game. 19 carries for 95 yards. He had 9 forced missed tackles. Keep in mind, I think he had 5 carries inside the 5 or 10 yard line. So, a good grip of those carries weren't going to be exactly good for his yards per attempt. But it is what it is. Granted, okay, yeah, this season I would say is a bit more down than it was last season, though he's seeing a similar workload. And I think that obviously with the Jordan Travis injury, he's going to have to see more. He's probably going to see more volume, which is a good thing. But man, Benson's nice, man. He brings that return ability. He's still figuring out not the most natural pass catcher. But if you get him out in space, then legitimately he can take it to the house. He's got speed like that. He really, really does. Good size. I'm a big fan. I think I might be willing to just plant my flag in the ground as my RB1 at this point. Though I mean, I think there are guys that could creep on his heels. Jonathan Brooks, I think, comes back to school, so I'm not even really thinking about him. But Travion Henderson, then you got a couple of power backs with Braylon Allen and Audric Estime. Which, shoot, let's talk about Audric Estime. I had the best performance this week, up there with Ollie Gordon, but Ollie Gordon's not draft eligible. But Estime, man, just ran right over Stanford for 238 yards. He had 4 tutties. This is your one of the premier power backs, one of the premier bruisers in this class. He's got a nice, strong, sturdy build, very much a no-nonsense downhill runner, north-south, and that's it. That's it. Don't look for him to go to get lateral. Don't look for him to have a little shimmy or a little shake. He knows what he is, and he does it well at a good size at 5'11", 227 pounds. Not the fastest guy, not the quickest guy, but a guy that can get it done and can get it done in chunks. I think the ball security has been really good this season after kind of struggling with that last season. He had 3 fumbles last year, only 1 fumble this season, so big plus. Love to see that. The forced missed tackles are huge, 63 on the year. It's not I wouldn't say it's oh my gosh, it's not like your Javonte Williams, your Bijans and such, or even a Kenneth Walker or anything. but it's like that next tier. That's why I kind of look at him like a third, fourth round player. Is he going to offer much in the pass game? No. But you know what you're getting. You're getting a premier bruiser, power back guy you can rely on in short yardage, goal line situations. And that's fine. It's A-okay. Okay, so let's highlight the tight end class real quick because, it's not great. But Ben Sinnott had a heck of a game in probably the snowiest game of the week against Iowa State, where he had 10 receptions, 136 yards. He had the tutty. He did it with short sleeves out there in the freezing cold. Yeah, man, this is a mid-American corn-fed monster. Coming in at 6'4", 245. Phenomenal game, man. Really, really phenomenal game. He's having a solid season, kind of standing out, especially in this tight end class, which you look at a lot of guys and it's I feel like we're going to see a big run on tight ends in round 4 and 5. Because that's just kind of where I have a lot of them. I really, really do. But he's already eclipsed last season's numbers. So you love to see that. The forced missed tackles are up like that, 13 on the season, and that's on 48 receptions. Wish he was a little bit better at the contested catch this year, but kind of is what it is. A guy that he's shown sure hands, only 4% drop rate, but I feel like when it comes to the contested catch, he just doesn't do a good job necessarily of high pointing the football. I feel like he needs to do a better job of just making catches outside of his frame, away from his frame. That's probably the terminology I'm looking for. But all in all, man, you're getting a really good athlete, fluid mover, good speed, knows how to create separation, and I just look at him that could be a good tight end too someday. Welcome to this tight end class. It's going to be a bunch of guys like that, like your Jaheim Bells and Cade Stovers and such. Dalton Holker. Just a bunch of could be some really good tight end twos someday. But hey, gotta give him a shout out, man. He probably had the funnest game, the most fun game to watch. All right, last on my list, I got Jacob Cowan out of Arizona, coming in at 5'11", 175, had a huge day against Arizona State where he had over 150 yards receiving and a touchdown. And funny enough, wasn't even the best receiver performance on his team, but that cat McMillan, I don't think he's eligible for another year. So we're talking about Cowan. And Cowan, you watch him and you're you get Tank Dell vibes, right? He's on the smaller side, but he's a phenomenal athlete, great speed, very crisp route runner, knows how to change the tempo of his routes, knows how to fluctuate that speed during his route, switching gears and whatnot. He switched up athlete once he secures the ball, he can legit finesse defenders in close quarters, a guy that can create after the catch. He isn't afraid to go up and make a play on the ball. You look at his drop rate, it's been phenomenal the last 3 years, where 5.7 this year, 7.6 last season, and 8%. You're getting closer to that 10%, which is kind of a red flag, but still under it. It's only got better since. He's gotten better every year. Even as a contested catcher, this is a guy that's not afraid to go up and get it, man. He will high point the football. He tracks the ball exceptionally well. He has made some highlight catches on tape this year, 25% contested catch rate. So yeah, kind of mad, but smaller receiver willing to live with that. But last year was 50%. Year before that, his last year at UTEP, it was 37%. So okay, you go get it. How he's different though from Tank Dell is I don't think he can survive on the outside. Tank Dell, a guy that played a lot on the outside, his final year there at Houston, someone who did a great job of using his footwork to get clean releases off the line of scrimmage. I don't think Cowan, at least we just haven't seen enough of Cowan doing that. 75% of the time over the course of his career, he's lined up in the slot. I don't think he can handle that physicality that early in routes. So you're going to look at him and be like, okay, probably pigeonholed into the slot at the next level. But I think he's one of the premier slot receivers. He's currently my slot wide receiver 3 in this class. And I'm looking at him like 4th, 3rd round. I'm honestly I might pump him up to the 3rd round. I really might. Because I'm actually that big of a fan of his. Really, really, really am. But yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see him at the Senior Bowl. And I'm really intrigued to see if he can get those clean releases when guys are up on him in those one-on-ones. Because like if he can, then good luck corner. Like for one, like wide receiver, cornerback drills, the one-on-ones, those are geared for wide receivers to win. Really, you're looking at corners like, okay, who lost the least amount, right? But if this dude really struggles to get off the line, really struggles with hands on him, like, okay, yeah, you're pigeonholing the slot, and we see slot receivers drop all the time in the draft. So I just want to give him another shout out because I've really loved his work. Funny enough, last year, I think he was a little bit better. He was able to make more things happen after the catch. But to be fair, they didn't really fall into their starting quarterback till what was the game that what's his name? It was like Delora. I don't know. He got hurt, and then this cat came in, and he's just been phenomenal. But I mean, regardless, like Cowan's still having a really good season. One to highlight him in a freaking studded wide receiver class. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who are some guys maybe you want to highlight? And maybe I'll eventually take a look at them. But until next time, be easy, my friends. Later.